Your prayers aren't breaking chains because they often miss one critical, ancient principle: the law of spiritual declaration, rather than mere petition. It's not about begging God or the universe for something you lack. It's about aligning your words, emotions, and belief with an already established spiritual truth that you already possess the freedom. This isn't some New Age affirmation or shallow positive thinking. This is a profound shift in understanding how the unseen realm interacts with your spoken word. A principle whispered in forgotten texts and understood by mystics for millennia. When you pray from a posture of pleading, you are in essence affirming the chain's power over you. You are validating its existence, giving it energy, and reinforcing the very lack you desperately want to escape. The universe, or God, doesn't respond to your neediness as much as it responds to your certainty, your settled conviction that what you desire is already, on a higher plane, yours. Most people approach prayer like a child asking a parent for candy, a transaction based on persuasion. But breaking chains requires a different kind of conversation. An adult conversation where you don't ask for permission to be free, but declare freedom as your birthright. It means moving from a place of "Please, Lord, take this away" to "Thank you, Father, for this is already gone." And it's this subtle but seismic shift that separates prayers that echo in the void from prayers that shatter ancient bondages, allowing you to actually take action tonight, not just hope for it. You've felt it, haven't you? That gnawing frustration after pouring your heart out in prayer, only to wake up the next morning and find the same old chain still rattling. Maybe it's an addiction that feels unshakable, a financial struggle that never seems to ease, a generational pattern of broken relationships, or a nagging anxiety that whispers doubts into your quiet moments. You've prayed for healing, for breakthroughs, for deliverance, with all the sincerity your soul could muster. You've begged, pleaded, even bargained. And yet, the chain persists, mocking your efforts, leaving you feeling unheard, unseen, and utterly defeated. It's enough to make anyone question the very nature of prayer itself, or worse, their own worthiness. This isn't about your faith being too small. Often, it's about a misunderstanding of how the spiritual mechanics actually operate. We're taught to ask, to seek, to knock. And yes, those are vital components. But there's a deeper layer, a missing instruction in the manual that unlocks the true power. Imagine you're standing in front of a locked door. You can plead with the door, you can shout at it, you can even cry, but none of that will open it. What if, all along, you already held the key, but you were looking for a magical incantation instead of simply inserting it and turning? The chain isn't a physical object. It's a spiritual construct, often reinforced by belief, by ancestral patterns, by deep-seated trauma, or even by unwitting agreements we've made with the negative narratives in our lives. Think of it like this. Your words are not just sounds. They are vibrational frequencies, carrying intent and belief. When you say, "Lord, please break this chain," what unconscious message are you sending? You're acknowledging the chain's present reality. You're acknowledging that it is currently unbroken. You're giving it power by asking for its removal, implying it still holds sway. It's a subtle but profound difference. A man I once knew, let's call him Thomas, was deeply burdened by a generational pattern of financial struggle. His father, his grandfather, all struggled. Thomas prayed daily, "God, please deliver me from this poverty. Break this curse of lack." He was earnest, devout. But years went by, and nothing changed. His situation remained tight, just like his ancestors. He was praying for freedom while inadvertently affirming his bondage, reinforcing the very reality he wished to escape. He saw himself as poor, asking HEATO, not be poor. What Thomas needed was not a stronger plea, but a stronger declaration of who he is and what his spiritual inheritance already is. The core revelation is this: the spiritual realm often recognizes declarations of truth more potently than petitions of laxation. It's a bit like a judge. You don't ask a judge for the law to be true. You declare the law and claim your rights based on that truth. Are you merely asking for something to happen? Or are you declaring that it has happened in the spiritual sense and commanding its manifestation in the physical? This is where the concept of breaking chains gets its true power. So, what exactly is a chain in this context? It's not always a dramatic demonic possession, though it can manifest that way. More often, it's the persistent pattern, the invisible barrier, the recurring nightmare, the self-sabotaging behavior that prevents you from stepping into your full potential. It's the anxiety that chokes your peace, the anger that flares uncontrollably, the fear that paralyzes your dreams. These are not merely personality flaws. They are often deeply rooted spiritual or energetic constructs that have gained momentum over time, sometimes generations. They have an energetic signature. And your prayers, when approached incorrectly, can unwittingly feed that signature instead of dismantling it. The universal law we're talking about is a spiritual law, just as gravity is a physical law. It doesn't care about your feelings or your desperation. It responds to principles. And one of the most foundational principles is that what you affirm with conviction, what you consistently declare as truth, begins to manifest. It's not about forcing God's hand. It's about aligning your will, your words, and your spirit with God's already established will for your freedom. Imagine a river. You can stand on the bank and beg the river to flow. Or you can step into the current and flow with it. Effective prayer, stepping into the current of divine truth and letting it carry you. This might sound counterintuitive, especially if you've been taught that humility means always asking, always seeing yourself as small before a mighty God. But true humility isn't about self-deprecation. It's about accurately understanding your divine identity. It's about recognizing that you are made in the image of a powerful Creator, imbued with spiritual authority. And with that authority comes the ability to declare, not just request. Have you ever considered that perhaps the chains aren't just external forces acting upon you, but often internal constructs that you unknowingly perpetuate through your own mental and emotional patterns? This is where the real shift happens. Many of our chains are self-imposed or internally reinforced. A woman I'll call Sarah felt trapped in a cycle of destructive relationships. Every man she met seemed to echo the abandonment she experienced as a child. She prayed tirelessly for a good partner, for healing from her past. But beneath her prayers, a subconscious voice kept repeating, "I am unlovable. I will always be left." She was praying for something while simultaneously broadcasting an opposing belief into the universe. Her inner world was contradicting her outer plea. The chains were not outside her, waiting to be broken by a benevolent force. They were woven into the very fabric of her self-perception. This is the deeper, often overlooked truth. We participate in our own bondage, not because we want to suffer, but because our subconscious programming, our trauma responses, and our inherited beliefs can hold more sway than our conscious desires or our desperate prayers. So, the "this you need to do tonight" begins with understanding this internal dynamic. It's not just about what you say, but what you will believe when you say it, and what foundational identity you are operating from. Are you praying from a position of powerlessness, or from a position of spiritual authority? This is the core difference. It's the difference between asking if something might happen, and declaring that it will happen, because it already is in the spiritual reality. The power of prayer, especially for chain breaking, lies not in the eloquence of your words, but in the conviction of your spirit. Think of it less like writing a letter to Santa, and more like a court order. A court order isn't a request. It's a declaration backed by authority. When you declare something in prayer, especially something that aligns with divine promises and your spiritual inheritance, you are, in essence, issuing a spiritual court order. And the universe, in its own mysterious way, responds to that authority. It's not about being arrogant. It's about being aligned. It's about tapping into the divine spark within you that is capable of co-creating your reality. This is why, when people truly grasp this concept, they often experience dramatic shifts. They move from a place of hoping to a place of knowing. And that shift in internal state is itself a powerful force. Imagine a general on a battlefield. Does he ask his troops to fight? No. He commands them. He declares the strategy. Your spirit, your deepest being, is the general. And your words are the commands you're issuing to the spiritual forces that shape your life. So, what specific action can you take tonight to leverage this principle, to truly begin breaking those chains that have held you captive? It starts with a deliberate, conscious reframing of your approach to prayer. The first step, before you utter a single word, is what I call the sacred pause. Most people rush into prayer, often out of desperation, but the sacred pause is where you consciously shift your state. Find a quiet place tonight, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep, cleansing breaths. And in that silence, consciously acknowledge the chain that has held you. Don't ignore it. Don't minimize it. Look it square in the face. Feel its weight, its presence. But here's the crucial part. As you acknowledge it, simultaneously acknowledge that this chain, no matter how real it feels, is an illusion in the face of spiritual truth. It has no ultimate power over you. This isn't denial. It's a recontextualization. You're saying, yes, I see you, chain, but I also see the truth that is far greater than you. Next comes the visualization. This isn't just fluffy imagination. It's engaging your mind as a co-creator. After acknowledging the chain, immediately visualize it already broken in. See it shattered, dissolving, crumbling to dust. Feel the sensation of its absence. If it's a financial chain, see the abundance flowing freely. If it's an anxiety, feel the calm, expansive peace washing over you. If it's a broken relationship pattern, see healthy, loving connections blooming. Don't just hope for it. You see it with the vividness of an accomplished fact. This isn't just dreaming. It's actively impressing a new reality onto your subconscious and into the spiritual ethers. You're giving the spiritual realm a clear blueprint of the desired outcome, not a vague wish. And finally, the declaration. This is the do this tonight moment. After the sacred pause and the vivid visualization, you will speak, but not with a plea, with a declaration. You will start with gratitude. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe. That new name, the shine, is already broken. Then, you will declare the new reality, not as something you want, but as something that is get. I am no longer bound by name the chain. I am free from name the chain. I am all the opposite of the chain, e.g., abundant, peaceful, whole, loved, powerful. Use strong, present tense, verbs. I am. All. Speak it with the authority you were given as a spiritual being. Speak it as if you are simply stating a fact that has already been established in the highest court. You are not asking for something to happen. You are affirming what already is true in spirit and commanding its manifestation. It's crucial that you don't just say these words mechanically. Feel them. Let the feeling of freedom, of peace, of abundance flood your entire being as you declare. This feeling, this emotion, is the rocket fuel for your declaration. It's the conviction that gives your words power. Do this every night, not just once. For how long? Until the chain is undeniably gone, until the new reality is so present in your physical experience that you can no longer deny it. This isn't a quick fix for deep-seated issues, but it's the start of a new, powerful way of interacting with your reality. It's reprogramming your internal world and realigning your external manifestation. The moment you truly step into this understanding, you shift from being a victim of circumstance to a co-creator of your destiny. You move from begging for freedom to embodying it. The chains that once felt so real, so unbreakable, begin to fray, then crack, and ultimately shatter. Not because a benevolent hand reached down and magically snapped them, but because you, by divine design, activated the inherent power within you to declare their non-existence. You stopped affirming the problem and started declaring the solution. And in that declaration, you will not only break the chains that bind you, but also discover a profound, unshakable sense of peace and authority that you never knew you possessed. Do this tonight, not as an experiment, but as a commitment to your own liberation. And watch as the impossible begins to unfold.